Hey, this is Tyler with TJack Survival. Today we are going to talk about fire and the hierarchy of fire, meaning what you choose when you go into the backcountry. What's the best way to start fire, the most reliable way to start fire, and the most permanent way of starting fire. So, stay tuned. Alright, so when it comes to starting fire, you just can't beat a bick, okay? The bick is the very bottom backup way to do this, alright? It's good to have a bick, it's cheap, you almost always get fire quick, it's something that you can throw in your bag in large volume, but it's a temporary solution. Here's why. If I find myself in the backcountry for a week, great, I'm good to go. But if I run out of fuel, the bick's done, it's gone. It just becomes a spark maker, okay? And once that little flint's run out, it's gone. It's a very, very small piece of ferrocerium down in the bottom of there that makes it spark. This is a temporary solution. So I use this as my backup in my fire kit that I've got here, okay? I leave one of these in as a backup. It's raining, I need fire now, this is what I use. However, for a more longer term approach, there's better options. But before we get to that, let's talk about matches. Matches are great. Matches too are a temporary solution. You get about as many fires out of a box of matches as you can a bick. But because they're old school, I need to address it. There's a simple way to start matches. I'll show you real quick. Pinch it between your fingers, put your bird finger on right there. Okay, just like this. And then strike it down the match. Gives you a nice quick fire. The reason you put your finger on there is if it's too cold to push, you'll inevitably snap your match in half. So put your finger on there, strike it, pull off. Okay, that's match and that's bick. Again, these are backups. I don't even carry matches. It's good to know how to use them because you run into them. I have a bunch of them in my MREs, but I only have matches to show people how to use matches, not because I believe they're very reliable. In fact, they're probably at the bottom of my list of hierarchy of what you should have for starting fire. Okay, the next thing up I'll show you is a fire piston starter. This is cool, this is fun. It's not unreliable, but there's better ways to do it. So when it comes to starting a fire with the piston, all you really need is a little char cloth or something that can be compressed and start on fire like punk wood. Char cloth is magic. Char cloth is something that you really want to use. Throw it in your piston, snug it up, and you've got fire right there. Okay? Feel this out a little bit. It's not quite fire, but it's an ember. And then with an ember you get your fire. So, fire piston. It's really easy once you learn how to use it. If you have any problems with the fire piston, I have another video. Go watch it. It's hit, pause, pull. Make sure you lubricate. Simple. When you get those basic things down, you'll have fire with the piston in a few seconds. If not, you'll be pounding on it forever like I did when I was learning how to run one. Okay. The next option is obviously the magnesium and ferrocerium. These are man-made materials. Basically, you scrape magnesium off into a pile, and then you ignite it with the Ferro rod. You see a lot of these in Boy Scout kits, right? They are great little kits. They work really well, but there's better ways to do this. And you're limited too. It doesn't take very many fires before you've burnt through that little ferrocerium rod. So let's say it's a month or two worth of fires with something small like this. That's a good start, but we can do better. That would be a big fat Ferro rod. With the big fat Ferro rod, I can scrape chunks off just like I do with the magnesium, and then I can put big flames out. Okay? So with this big fat Ferro rod, it's much, much longer, on the order of months. Now I can make fire months and months, possibly years, as long as I'm making more char cloth, making more char, sustaining the fire for a long time before I have to light it. This is, in my opinion, your best bet to have. This with some cotton jelly, cotton and petroleum jelly mixed, and a lighter as a backup. Maybe some wet fuel or something like that. That way you've got an emergency fire starter. Maybe some wet fuel and a lighter for a signal fire. The rest of your cooking you do with something like this. So in my opinion, the best setup is going to be a ferro rod and a lighter with some cotton or char cloth. Little quick on the cotton and petroleum jelly. You've seen this in my other video. I did a video for Black Scout Survival. This is just a big fat ferro rod that has a container on the back that holds cotton and petroleum jelly, but it's also got a compass, which is nice. So the cotton and petroleum jelly, I'll throw that down right here. Drop a spark or two on it. I'm going to use my big fat stick because it's simple. Now I just hold it down and pull the stick away, and I've got a flame already. Okay, so for my backup, cotton and petroleum jelly, that gives me fire quick. I'm limited on how much cotton and petroleum jelly I can bring with me, but there's other ways to start fire with this. The quick and easy on starting a fire with the ferro rod is to find a stick, much bigger stick than this, is within reaching range, and make a feather stick, because the outer part's wet. You're basically going to cut that outer part away and then do feather sticks to that inner part and make them small and make a ton of them. If you make them small enough, and if you make them curly enough, and if you make enough of them, they will always start, no matter how wet it is. Because the inside of, no matter where you're at, the inside of the log, eventually you will find one that is dry. And that's how you start it without cotton or petroleum jelly or char cloth. Okay? So the last thing, char cloth. Char cloth is the magic ingredient. I'm sorry, I forgot one. Before I get to char cloth, we have flint and steel. So flint and steel is literally what it sounds. Do not confuse a ferro rod and a steel knife, which is procerium in steel, with an actual piece of flint or quartz or rock and steel. What's happening in the first one is I'm using this knife edge, 90-degree edge, to take chunks off of this mixed steel rod, and when they hit oxygen they ignite. But that's man-made and much larger. So if we want to have fire permanently and forever, we need something like this. It's going to take me generations before I can strike this enough that I've whittled it away into nothing. And what's happening is the same thing, only this carbon-based steel, and this is just a hand-forged ring that I bought on eBay. But that carbon-based steel, little pieces of it are breaking off with this rock and throwing sparks. Okay? I hope you can see those here. Now what you'll do with that is with the char cloth. Now the char cloth, all that is a cotton or a plant-based material that I cooked without oxygen. Super simple, stick it in here, cook it without oxygen, you're good to go. Now I threw that on another channel, or on another video on my channel, so if you want to see how to do that, go down on my channel and find how to make char cloth. So having said that, we're going to start a fire with it real quick. I've done this a lot, so don't think that you're going to suddenly start a fire as fast as I do, even though it might take me a minute to start a fire. Yeah, always when the camera's running. Okay, if one of those sparks lands on it, you have an ember, and then you just transfer that ember to a nest. Okay, a nest is just ground up A nest is just grass, it's stringy bark, it's any fine super ground material that'll start on fire. You can even take cotton levi, scrape the back of your knife till you get a little pile of lint or the lint from your pocket. That'll start up as a nest. And then you'll use another layer of material or wood to catch on fire and go from there. So of all these things, again, I think the best way to do this is a ferro rod and a lighter with petroleum jelly and cotton and an ability to make cloth, char cloth, and some sort of metal that you can use with a piece of flint. That combination gives you fire now. It gives you the cotton and petroleum jelly also gives you a flame that's quick, something that like wet fire that'll give you a flame that's quick in case of emergencies. But this combination, this is the most permanent, this is the most long-lasting. You can always find more plant-based material like cattails, that kind of stuff, cotton, and char it. You'll always get more char cloth, and you'll always be able to use the striker, the flint, and the steel setup. So if I had to say what would the minimal material be, that's it right there. Char cloth in a tin, flint and striker, lighter, and a ferro rod, or some sort of a combination with that, and one form of emergency fire starting, like the cotton and petroleum jelly or the wet fire. So I believe that's my hierarchy of fire, all the options. The last thing I'm going to say, all of this, I can walk away, just take my knife and make a bow drill. There's always the knowledge backup. Bow drill, friction, fire plow, whatever. That is your absolute backup. That is a necessity, because if I don't have any of this, even my knife, I can use rocks to break down trees and build a bow drill from scratch. I can make string from dogbane, yucca plant, whatever it is that I find and use. Even willow bark, you can make a string enough to start yourself a bow drill fire. So knowing the bow drill is a backup. It's a great fire starter, and it's fun to do it that way. But running a bow drill in a downpour underneath the bushes just doesn't work. However, a lighter, a ferro rod, cotton petroleum jelly, that kind of stuff, it does. So go out and learn the bow drill, go out and learn primitive techniques, hand drill, and all that type of stuff. Have it in your knowledge base, because sometimes you leave things home. But if you're going to build a kit, ferro rod, lighter, a way to make cotton char cloth, flint and steel, and a knife. Alright, this has been the hierarchy of fire, or the levels of what's best for what. If this has been valuable for you, please subscribe to my channel. Please share and leave comments or questions or anything that you have. And as always, thank you for watching TJack Survival.